Hello, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to this presentation, Fun Games and Communicative Activities for the Virtual Classroom. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm the Managing Director of English for You Language Institute. It's an institute that my wife and I started about 18 years ago. We specialize in private English classes, both in the Institute and online. We have about 7 study areas, and whilst we teach all levels of English, we actually specialize in international preparation, exam preparation, specifically from B2 to C2. Many of our students are English teachers who are trying to improve their level, as well as people who want to live, work, or study in other countries, preparing for their TOEFL, for their IELTS exams. I'm also the headmaster of the American School, which is an IB bilingual school here in Trujillo, Peru. The school's my pride and joy. I love the school, and at the moment, during the quarantine, we're operating both the Institute and the school online. The Institute was quite simple because we've always done online classes. We have for about 8 years. So it was very simple for us to move our classes from the physical to the virtual classroom. But the school was a totally different thing, moving more than 600 students from the physical to the virtual classroom with less than a week of preparation time was quite a task. But we've done it and it's going very well. Now, apart from that, I'm also a teacher trainer. I do public speaking. I love blogging. I do many different sorts of things. I live an interesting life for an English teacher. It's not a bad sort of an existence. It's long days and tiring, but I enjoy what I do. Now, today we're talking about communication and games. And the first word I want to put into this presentation is interactivity. I have sat in literally hundreds of online classes over the years. I've evaluated at the moment. As part of my team, I visit classes in our school, check. And you'll always find that when a teacher is interactive with the students, they have a far higher level of success. We need to keep our students focused. We need to keep them happy. Otherwise, they concentrate on the world that's happening around them rather than the world that's here in the computer screen. So they'll listen to their mother, their brother, their father, the television, rather than the teacher, if we're not attracting their attention. With interactivity, we've got to make sure our classes are student-focused. We've got to have colorful, dynamic PowerPoints or Pressies. We've got to include music, videos, sound effects in our presentations. We can use materials around the homes, as you can see by the photos here. You've got to be able to ask questions to test comprehension. It's not about the teacher just dictating. I've seen so many teachers teaching online who dictate and they mute the microphones of the students and there's no interactivity and the students just don't pay any sort of attention. And of course, the other interactivity is activities that include the family, whether it's cooking or making videos or something like that. Now, one of the things about doing communication or games is that whether it's in the class or online, we normally do it in pairs or groups. And something that really surprised me is that most people are teaching in Zoom. And one of the characteristics of Zoom that they don't know about is that you can actually set up internal groups. So if you've got, say, 20 students, you can set up 5 groups of 4. And that's perfect for a speaking activity or playing a game, like where you're competing one team against another. So what I'd like to do quickly, very quickly, is just to show people how to create groups in Zoom, because this is really important. This characteristic of Zoom, excuse me, can be the key, the difference between success and failure. Now, if you go to Zoom, you'll see there's a key at the bottom that says select groups. And you push that button, and when you do, a little window comes up and it gives you instructions on how to set up groups. Now, you can choose how many students you have in each group, and you can either set the groups up manually yourself or automatically. You can let the program to randomly select your students to create the groups. Once you've done that, once they're set up, the teacher can add extra rooms. You can have unlimited amount of rooms. You can rearrange the groups by, if you're not happy with the students, or if you want to change the demographics of the groups in the middle of an activity. You can move students from one group to another or create new groups. And then once you're happy with the group, you push the Open All Rooms button, and automatically a message will be sent to all your students, which they'll click, and that will put them into their designated groups. It's that simple. It's very, very simple. Then the last thing you can do is to record. If you've got 5, 10, 20 groups, it doesn't matter. It'll make a record. You can record each individual group. And when you turn off the Zoom session, they will automatically save the recordings into your Zoom file. So if you ask students to talk or to play a game or to give a presentation, you can actually review it personally after the class. You can chat with all the groups, which is a good feature if you want to give instructions, if you want to change something about the group, if you want to say there's 5 minutes left, it's very easy to do it. When you push the button, you can chat to all the groups. And then finally, when you close the groups, when you finish the group activities, you just push a button and it automatically sends a message to all the groups saying that they are now leaving the group. It's that simple. That feature in Zoom really is the foundation of a successful online class when it comes to communicative activities and games. So now, let's have a look at a few activities, a few ideas. As I said earlier, the key to effective communication in the virtual classroom is interactivity. There has to be. You can't expect children, especially young children, to sit and listen to a teacher for hours. If you think that's possible, you're going to fail. It's not teaching. Okay, it's got to be student focused. They have to be engaging. You have to grab the students' attention. They have to want to be part of your class. It's similar to the physical class, but even more important in the virtual class, because you can't literally see all your children, your students, in the same way as you do in the regular classroom. And of course, when it comes to communication, especially, there's no rules. Success depends on the demographics of your class. No two classes are the same, and no one activity will be successful in every class. You've got to know your students, know the class. You could have 2 6th grade classes. What works in one class will fail in the other class. So you've got to work out, how can I teach my classes the best way possible? Because as teachers, we can't sit there and say, it's not my problem. I didn't bring this client in. It's, what am I supposed to do? I get up each day and I do the best I can. No, that's not true. You can't have that attitude. You are a teacher. You work for a professional organization, whether it's private or government, and you have a responsibility to the education of these children, whether they pay money each month to a school, to a university, or the parents pay taxes to the government. They have a right to an education, and as you are in the classroom, you are expected to be a professional. So this is very important. You've got to have that really up and going personality in the virtual classroom. Teachers, this is my wife, Claudia. Now, Claudia uses a lot of, when we're teaching children, she uses a lot of props. She uses dolls, she uses puppets, especially with kids. Our kids, our students, because we have students in the institute as young as 5 years old, although a lot of the students are teenagers, and they will bring their favorite teddy bear, or sometimes we organize puppets, and they will talk quite freely through a doll or a puppet, where they may not want to talk normally. Have a virtual tour. Have a virtual tour. Let me move my head. Look at my head's in the way there. Have a virtual tour of your house. This is always a good thing. Show where you live. If you're trying to teach something, use the world around you as a communicative tool. All right? I don't really want to show a particular activity for communication here tonight in this presentation because, as I said, every class is different. I want to give a foundation. And from the foundation, you can think, how can I teach my kids with that piece of information? So use your world. Here you can show where you live. Here's Claudia again. She's showing the food. She's showing the refrigerator, the freezer. She's doing actions, verbs, whatever with food. These are some of our students. That's a group of 5-year-olds. They show us their bedrooms. They play music and different things like that. There's her friends, once again, showing their kitchen, showing their refrigerator. And this here is all communication. So we've learned the English, and now we're communicating through cell phones. Or they might take the laptop or whatever with them, and we have the classroom in the kitchen, we have the classroom in the laundry, we have the classroom in the bedroom, whatever. But it's all about using the world around you as a form of communication. This is another one. This is one of our teachers, Gabby, student Ma. She's 11 years old, and she's in her kitchen. Show and tell. Show and tell is a wonderful thing because you say to the kids, get something that you really love and tell me about it. I mean, how much more fun or simple can that be? You know yourself, when we try to get kids to do something that they don't like, well, it's difficult. They're reluctant to speak. But if you ask them to show a photograph of their favorite holiday or a toy, their favorite toy, Barbie dolls, Ken dolls, teddy bears, Hot Wheels cars, whatever. They love to talk about it. You know, they can show. I had a boy once who held up a football and told me he spoke for like 45 minutes about everything he'd achieved in football. But I couldn't normally get him to talk. So something like that. Get them to talk about something they love. Get the kids to make something. This is making a microwave, sultana, and Avena cookie. All right, so, and this was made into a video. So first of all, they make all the ingredients and make the cookie, the dough. Their parents or brother or sister make a videotape, and then they cook it and they eat it. But as they're doing it, they're actually explaining everything they do. I put this, I put that, I mix, like this. It's a very simple thing. And it's fun because whenever the kids are having fun or something that they can connect to, they will always communicate more frequently, more better than normal. This is another one. This is Ma once again, making pancakes. She actually made a video of making pancakes with her cell phone, and and I'm still waiting to get one of the pancakes because they look really delicious. But you know, videos can be made about a variety of subjects, and you can include your whole family. For example, I've had families make pizza or brownies, and they invite their mother, their father, whatever, and they make it together on video. And it really is, an interesting experience because it involves the family in the process. At the moment, one of the problems families have is, especially with young children, is they believe they've become a teacher when they're not a teacher. They believe they being forced to accept responsibility that they don't want during the quarantine. So if we can do activities which are fun for them, well, it makes them a little bit happier about the whole process. Another one, of course, is Kahoot. We use Kahoot a lot. It's a fun program, different sorts of tests and everything. And you can have the students competing against each other in a very communicative way. I love using Kahoot. My teachers love using Kahoot. I'd just like to show you a project that one of my students did. This is Jimena. Jimena is 14 years old. She's been my private student for about 2 years in my institute. Now, she is a confirmed C1 level of English. She is borderline C1, C2. She can get, well, she could probably get around 110 on a TOEFL exam. She is absolutely brilliant. She's preparing to study in the United States when she graduates from high school. I'd like to show you a project that we do. This is what I do with a 14-year-old. This is how I motivate 14-year-olds. Now, I get a subject which is super important to kids at the moment, and then I motivate them with the subject. For example, climate change and the way we treat the world. So for this particular project, we talked about the Paris Climate Change Agreement. This has been very famous the last couple of years since President Donald Trump withdrew the United States from the agreement. First of all, what we do is we study the Paris Climate Accord. What is it? What is history? What is it trying to achieve? What are its objectives? What are the statistics? This is what it is. Which countries are members? Who initiated it? Etc. etc. Then we look at what is climate change. We do this through a lot of reading. We do it through watching videos. And then we looked at the acceptance. We looked at the speeches. We read the speeches, because you can get the speeches in PDFs. And we also watched the videos about the acceptance by the ex-president, Barack Obama. We learned a lot of vocabulary and things like that. And then we worked our way through the process to the rejection by President Donald Trump. We looked at his speech, which was about 25 minutes, and it outlined all of his reasons why. So we had President Obama, the reasons why he went into it. President Trump, the reason he took America out. We looked at all the terminology, all the expressions, the reasons, and evaluated everything. And then she had to do her project. Her project was to write a 1,000+ word fact-based opinion article good enough to be posted online in a blog. So we're talking correct grammar, everything. Minimal editing to be actually published. The second part of the presentation was to imagine that she'd been asked like Greta, that girl Greta, to present a presentation, to give a presentation at the United Nations. So she had to give me a 15-minute presentation with PowerPoint and videos to defend the Paris Climate Change Agreement. It really was a blast. It was a good presentation. Now, I'd like to show you some physical games in the virtual classroom. I'm not a great lover of going to these games sites where you just push buttons and everything's being worked out for you. I'm not a great lover of that because it's not connecting the students and the teachers together properly in the virtual classroom. It just doesn't work for me in my experience. It can work sometimes, but I find adapting normal sorts of games far more efficient for the classroom than having kids going off in their own direction, clicking websites, and playing their own 20-question games. For me, it just doesn't, it just disconnects the teacher from all their students, from their class. One of the things I like to do is to either create myself or to get from Google different sorts of PDF board games. Now, if you remember earlier, I talked about creating groups in Zoom. Now, what you can do is you can create different groups and then send each group a PDF game, okay? And then the teacher sits there with a dice, rolls the dice, throws the dice, and the students, one by one, different groups, move, okay? And then they have to answer the question. Keep in mind that you're recording the sessions that you can check later. So you can either ask the kids in chat to write their answers, which is good, or you can have them just go crazy, completely free with each other, talking in their groups, playing the games, and then later you can review it by watching the video. So you can do it both ways. And the beauty of this is that it lets the kids go a little bit free, and they will talk to each other in English more sometimes than they will talk to the teacher. So the use of these PDF board games is really, really good in virtual classroom. With the PDF board games, for example, in our school, we also use Google Classroom. And we also have another platform called CWeb. And through these, we can send these materials, and their parents can print them, or if worst comes to worst, they can play the game on the screen of their television if they don't have a printer, because that is a common problem during virtual classes of the quarantine. Is not everybody's got enough computers and enough printers in their house. So make sure that whatever game you play is able to be played on the student's device. But that's a really, really good sort of a game, playing the PDF games. And if you don't want to make your own, there's so many different varieties of board games available in Google Images. There's so many for just about every form of grammar, different sorts of vocabulary. Personally, I like to make my own, and I keep them for future classes, but really it depends on you. Another one we like to play is bingo. Bingo is a lot of fun. Now, this particular bingo game I'm going to show you is a PowerPoint. It's available for free through Google. You just search Google for bingo PDF. PowerPoint. And you can download this. And these are really good. Now, once again, you can choose PDFs, which you can send to your students, or you can create them yourself. Okay, I like to create my own. I've made my bingo boards with the blank squares in Word document. Then I type in the words, and then I save it in PDF, and then I send it to the students so that they can't alter them. And you can make 5 or 6 different groups so that you can have a different one for each group. And what you do then is you have this added here. If you have a look, you click, and up comes the different words. All right, so that you can make it really, really interactive for the kids. So you can have them sitting at home with their boards, and the boards that you make actually relate to this program. So you can show it the whole thing on your screen, and the students are at home with their PDF, crossing off words until they can say bingo and they win. But this is something which we play a lot of in our classes with all of our students in different levels. We even do this with IELTS students, TOEFL students, because when you're studying for months, sometimes you can get a little bit bored. And even the most academic vocabulary can be changed into an interesting sort of game to make it a little bit more fun and a little bit more interactive. You know, when you're studying 5 nights a week for your TOEFL test, and it can get a little bit boring sometimes. So to make it a little bit more interesting and at the same time sufficiently academic is good. But you can also use the same thing for young kids. So it's an enormous benefit, these sorts of games. Another one which I love to do, absolutely love to do, is tic-tac-toe. Tic-tac-toe is a lot of fun. Now there's all different sorts of tic-tac-toe, I find. Now this one here is another PowerPoint game. You can download this on the internet for free. Right? It's available. You just Google search PowerPoint tic-tac-toe. Excuse me. And then what you do here is you've got like 9 squares. And what you can do is put your students into 9 different groups, or 6 groups, or 3 groups. It really doesn't matter. And then you give each group a name, an identity. All right? Just like this. And what you do is you're going to be competing group against group. Now, this is a good old-fashioned game. This is a game which is controlled by the teacher, played by the students, completely interactive. And that's what we're trying to achieve in online classes. As I said before, we don't want to give the kids a link to a website and say, play that game for 30 minutes, because you're cutting that connection with your students, which means you are failing. You are a teacher. You have to be connected. This is really, really good game. You set up, after you set up your teams, before you set up your teams, of course, you set up questions, the questions that you want to ask. And then you can click on a group, it comes up, you ask the question, and if they get it right, you put in a nought or a cross. And the whole class can see this. It's on their screen because you're screen sharing just as I am doing at this moment. And it can be done as a group activity. Like if you're in Zoom and you set up your groups, the students can talk to each other and then share their answer. It's so simple. This is a tic-tac-toe which I developed myself in my institute because sometimes I find just doing 3 in a row is not enough, especially when you get into the higher levels. So in this particular game, this particular one is verbs, for example. You'll notice that you've got a big board with a lot of verbs. Now, the purpose of this is to continue the game, to see who can get the most wins, the most 3 in a row. So you could say one group gets 3 in a row 4 times, Another group gets 3 in a row 3 times. So rather than doing it and then starting again, doing it, starting again, this, when it's on a big screen, the whole demographics changes. I mean, you've got to look at it from a whole different view as you're trying to connect and answer those questions. And it really does work well. It's a lot of fun. But this one here, like I said, is with verbs, but you can make sentences with adjectives. You can put in grammar structures, vocabulary. This is very good for reviewing vocabulary. If you can imagine, you've taught 5 or 6 units in a book, and you want to review all the vocabulary, you can put one word in each square. And the students are going to make a sentence or something like that. The applications are limitless with this particular game. I can't remember how many things we have reviewed with this game. It's a lot of fun. Let's spin. This is a really good game. Let me show you. You click this and it spins. Once again, this is a free PowerPoint. And you can share this with your students. It's so much fun. Here, you can set up 8 teams. And the students are going to ask a question. You have a selection of questions. These particular ones here, you can change. You can put numbers, you can put words, you can put whatever you want on the wheel. You can change it to suit yourself. And you just ask questions. And it's a lot of fun. The kids really love it, especially the young kids. But, you say to group 1, they spin the wheel. They've got -5 points. They lose 5 points if they get the question right. Another one, group 2, 45 points. You give them the question. If they get it right, you come up here and you go 45 points. It's as simple as that. And you see which team gets the most points. I love that thing. You can use that game for almost anything. It's limitless. It's like the tic-tac-toe. This is one of my teachers. This is my teacher, Marjorie, my daughter, Marjorie. She's here using emotions. She's put emotions on the wheel. Jeopardy. Jeopardy is a great game. Jeopardy, I don't know if you've seen Jeopardy where you are, but it's a very popular game in many countries. And what you do is you have 5 topics. It could be the environment, it could be technology, whatever. And then you have a list of questions under it. $100, $200, $300, $400, $500 question. And the $100 question is easier. The $500 question is the hardest. So if you can imagine putting your students into groups, and you'll say to the student, what would you like? I would like environment for $400. So the teacher comes, clicks environment for clicks environment for $400. And then you have to answer the question. It's very simple. Once again, a challenge. You're challenging those groups. Another one is Boggle. A lot of people here in Latin America, they don't know what Boggle is, but Boggle's a very popular game where you have 16 dice with letters of the alphabet in a holder. You put the dice in, put the lid, shake it. And you shake, 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 and then take the lid off, and you've got a series of letters of the alphabet, such as this. And then you have an egg timer, say 5 minutes. And they have to think, how many words can they create from those letters of the alphabet? Now, those particular letters you can see on the board at the moment. I had a group of students in one of my C2 classes. They were English teachers who created more than 360 words from those 16 letters. They didn't do it in 5 minutes. They did it in 2 hours, but they did over 360 words. That's a great game. And the final game I'd like to look at, because we're running out of time, is Top and Tails Vocabulary Challenge. I love this for the more advanced levels, teenagers or above. Everybody knows the game where you put down a word and then the next person has to make a word that starts with the last letter of the previous word. If you have a look at the screen, the first word is vocabulary. It ends in Y. The next word is yeast. It starts in Y. And you think, how can you make that a virtual game? Well, here's an activity which I did with my students, and we did it in Zoom, putting the words in chat. And it's the same thing. It's just an electronically version of it. All right. And this here, if you want to take a screenshot of this is an article from my blog. It has links to 25 online games. So if you would prefer to do games that aren't adapted from physical games, if you would like your students to actually go to a website and do predetermined games, that's a link, and there's 25 games there if you'd like to try. Well, that's it for my presentation tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. It was quick. I tried to get as many things as I could fit it in. The beauty of this is that it's recorded, so you can go back and watch it again. But anyway, thank you, everybody. I really enjoyed this. I hope that you got something from it. And all I can say is good luck teaching during these difficult times. It's not easy to adapt, but you know, if you set everything up properly, you follow a few rules, try to make your classes really interactive, it's not as bad as what you think. It can be a bit of fun, and you will learn something from it. It will make you a better teacher. Thank you very much, and goodbye. That's right. Perfect.